for 40 years, king in Hebron in southern Israel for 7 years, and then in Jerusalem for 33 years. He was down in Hebron because when the earlier king passed away, King Saul, not all of the land of Israel accepted David as king. Many of the people followed the son of Saul, or one of the sons of Saul, named Ishbosheth. Hebron is far south in the tribal allotment of Judah. David was of Judah, and there we have Benjamin. That was the tribe of King Saul and Ishbosheth. So anyway, we talked about last time, the first question in this compendium, how David was not grasping for power. So many people in our world today, that's what they want, power. But David was one who was willing to serve, but that's not what he was after. So we'll see, we saw that in the case of King Saul, power corrupted Saul. And we'll ask that question, does power corrupt King David as we go along? So he mourned King Saul and lamented, in fact, wrote a poem about the death of King Saul, and then asked God whether it was time for him to step forward and be the king. So that's what we found in answer to question 1. Then we left off when we were talking about question 2. How was David's kindness to Mephibosheth repaid? First of all, who is Mephibosheth? Jonathan's son. Jonathan, Saul's son, was killed in the battle that Saul was killed in, along with some other brothers.
Was it the same day? He asked, is the same day? Just same battle?
Yeah, well, I can't say for sure, but I would assume so, yeah. So David was one who later on said he was so close to Jonathan as a friend. He said, are there any descendants of Jonathan that I could take care of? And he found out about a young man named Mephibosheth who was lame, having been dropped as a child. And so he invited Mephibosheth to eat at his table. In those days, the king didn't eat alone. He had a bunch of people that were kind of at his table, the royal table. He paid for their food, in other words, and maintained them. So Mephibosheth was in that group, illustrious group, as a son of his friend Jonathan. But the question goes on. So that tells us something about David and his concern for others. He was looking for people to care for, at least in this case, because of his friendship with Jonathan. But how did that turn out? That's why we included that question, because it has some interesting ramifications. Because later on, David is going to have some trouble and is going to be fighting a war against the followers of his son Absalom. How does Mephibosheth deal with that?
I think Mephibosheth, because of the kindness returned to him, and the same kindness was returned to David too, during escaping from the sun.
Okay, let's sought to show kindness. Let's go to chapter 16, verses 1 through 4. This jumps forward into the time of the struggle between David and Absalom. It's interesting how some people react. Anyway, David fled from Jerusalem, and then we read, when David had gone a short distance beyond the summit, there was Ziba, the steward of Mephibosheth. Ziba is just a servant, waiting to meet him. He had a string of donkeys saddled and loaded with 200 loaves of bread. So he's trying to help David. 100 cakes of raisins, 100 cakes of figs, and a skin of wine. So he's trying to help David and David's followers. The king asked Ziba, why have you brought those? Ziba answered, the donkeys are not the king's household to ride on, are for, and so on. Anyway, the question, the king then asked, where is your master's grandson? He originally worked for Saul. Ziba said to him, he is staying in Jerusalem because he thinks today the house of Israel will give me back my grandfather's kingdom. Then the king, David, said to Ziba, all that belonged to Mephibosheth is now yours. I humbly bow, Ziba said. So Ziba says Mephibosheth didn't come with the people following David. He said Mephibosheth was in effect a traitor.
Who is Ziba related to?
Ziba is a servant. He's worked for Saul, King Saul, from what we can gather. But right now, he's a servant of Mephibosheth. He's one who helps Mephibosheth get around because he has problems. Anyway, but that's not the end of the story. That kind of suggests, well, Mephibosheth wasn't very grateful for all that David had done and was still hoping to be king himself. But then, let's see, what's the verse? Chapter 19. We'll jump forward to chapter 19. David is coming back into power. And sometimes we do. I thought it was an interesting story, kind of a three-part story. Chapter 19, verse 24. David's coming back now to Jerusalem. Mephibosheth, Saul's grandson, also went down to meet the king. He had not taken care of his feet, or trimmed his mustache, or washed his clothes from the day the king left until the day he returned safely. I don't know how many days exactly that was, but anyway, when he came from Jerusalem to meet the king asked him, why didn't you go with me, Mephibosheth? He said, my lord, the king, since I, your servant, am lame, I said, I will have my donkey saddled and will ride on it so I can go with the king. But Ziba, my servant, betrayed me. And he has slandered your servant to my lord, the king. My lord, the king, is like an angel of God. So do whatever pleases you. All my grandfather's descendants deserve nothing but death from my lord, the king. But you gave your servant a place among those who eat at your table. So what right do I have to make any more appeals to the king? Who's telling the truth?
It seems like I always took Mephibosheth's side.
Okay.
Because Ziba kind of resented having to take care of the land and do all these things for him because he was, lame and all that. So I don't know.
How does David resolve the problem?
Kind of split it.
Yeah, he says, let's split. The king said to him, why say more? I order you and Ziba to divide the fields. Mephibosheth said to the king, let him take everything, now that my lord the king has arrived home safely. So I just thought it was an interesting story. Somebody's not telling the truth, either Mephibosheth or Ziba. And David, I guess, instead of picking one of the others.
You see the picture, you will know that Mephibosheth was betrayed by.
I thought so too.
Exactly. Because that sort of thing go by David himself. If he think his mind back, he know that one of his own counselor betrayed him. between him and Absalom.
Mhm.
The same thing. What Mephibosheth was saying here is the same thing between him and Ezra. Ezra betrayed him because he cannot. Mephibosheth cannot be in Jerusalem when he will be here. Welcome David and tell David that your servant is over there, thinking that his grandfather's throne will be returned to him.
Mhm.
You see that the speech. David is a very wise person. He's a clever person.
Yeah.
But I wonder how he told Mephibosheth to divide the property between him and.
Because he couldn't really prove it. Somebody's lying. But
Somebody's
he
not telling the truth.
He could say.
We'd like to think that Mephibosheth was grateful and loyal to David. And maybe the sign there is that he hadn't changed his clothes for quite a while. Anyway, that's Mephibosheth. It's a story of love and concern on the part of David, and hopefully gratitude. Anyway, we jump forward in this story of David's reign. Question 3: what was the city of David? What's the city of David? Well, that's where he evidently was born. But Jerusalem is known as the city of David. We'll see here in chapter 5. After the death of Saul, the war with the Philistines continues on. David seems to have more success than Saul. But in chapter 5, he is chapter 5, verses 6 and 7. David conquers Jerusalem. The king and his men march to Jerusalem to attack the Jebusites. So the Jebusites are not the Philistines. Jerusalem is there. And that's where it is today. And that's still there. Who lived there. The Jebusites said to David, "You will not get in here. Even the blind and the lame can ward you off." Kind of an insult.
Mm-hmm.
They thought David cannot get in here. Nevertheless, David captured the fortress of Zion, the city of David. So here it's called the city of David, and in several other places. Here in 2 Samuel, it's called the city of David. So David makes that his capital. It's a little more centrally located than Hebron. It's still in the environs of Judah, which is his ancestry, and it'll become the most important city there. And so we'll be reading a lot about Jerusalem.
He's trying to understand the West Bank. He thinks the West Bank is Palestine. And how does Israel have control? Do you want to explain it?
It's difficult.
The West Bank start up by the Sea of Galilee.
Oh, see.
Go about over to Mount Tabor, actually further to Japhia there.
Japhia.
Go down, go straight down, come back to right around Jerusalem.
Over here.
That's the West Bank.
That's big.
That's what they call the West Bank today. What is significant about the West Bank? We're departing from doing some modern history. The West Bank was part, I won't say it was part of the Kingdom of Jordan. I guess it really was. Israel, when it was formed as a nation after being under Arab control for many centuries, the Jewish people formed a state and declared independence
1948?
in 1948. And Israel at that time consisted of part of Galilee, a thin strip along the Mediterranean, and then Judah.
So
Most of
this-
what is now was Samaria and parts of Judah and even Galilee that's where the Palestinians live.
Okay.
They're
Am I
not the
getting it right?
Jewish people.
So Jews were the strip and down here,
Yes,
and then
Yes.
this was the
the
Palestinians.
West Bank.
But
And the struggles that followed, I think it was in 1967, that the Palestinians continued to create trouble and try to drive the Jews out. And in that war, the nation of Israel took over the West Bank and also much of the Sinai Peninsula, but that's a whole other story. That was returned to Egypt. But anyway, that's what is so much in the news today. The Palestinians, the Jewish people consider that a part of Israel historically. So they've started to build settlements in the West Bank. And that irks the Palestinians very, very
they
much.
still are doing it, and they're not, it's supposed to be international law that they did not do that.
Well, I
That's
don't,
what I.
Gaza is a whole another thing, that little piece.
Nice over here.
Yeah.
the Palestinians are a people of Arab descent. Anyway, they live in what are not permanent dwellings, really, more or less camps, refugee camps. The interesting fact is they're not welcome in the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan on the East Bank. They're not welcome in Egypt. They're not welcome in Syria. None of those Arab countries want them. What they want them
they're
to do,
stateless.
they're
People,
stateless.
really, because Palestine was never
Right.
internationally
And
recognized
that's-
as a country.
And
So
that's
they're
what,
basically stateless people.
yeah. But they could have been welcomed in the states that they were close to, but they weren't. Why? Those states want to maintain pressure on Israel. They don't want to assimilate the Palestinians. They want to keep them, in a sense, causing trouble. Is my view of the thing. You can argue about that, but anyway, and so that struggle is continuing today. Anyway,
So who's gonna win?
what's that?
Who's gonna win? Just saying.
Only the Lord knows. The nation of Israel
Yeah.
was recognized in 1948.
After the 6-Day War, I mean,
And one of the big questions was, would the United States recognize Israel as an independent state? Or would they say, well, this is just a rebel state. We're going to support the Arabs because of the oil. The Arabs controlled a lot of oil. The United Kingdom was reluctant to recognize Israel because of the oil. Anyway, but in the United States, the president was Harry Truman. And Harry Truman had a Jewish tailor. This is a true story. And Harry Truman's Jewish tailor said, would you please listen to some of the Jewish leaders in the United States and think about whether the United States should recognize Israel as a nation. And as a result of that, Truman did listen to some of the more official Jewish leaders. And as a result of that, the United States recognized Israel as a nation. So, yeah, believe it or not. Anyway.
he has his hand up.
Yeah, because you said World War. Well, are they
The
gonna?
war is going on like from now, you know,
Oh,
past
the
2000.
The evil or a real war?
Yeah, Israel and Palestine.
They're doing Palestine.
There's a real war going
There's
on.
a real, that war, that's been going on like forever.
I meant the spiritual war.
Oh,
Oh, it's not.
well, that's already won.
Yay!
Anyway, that's a little departure from 2 Samuel.
Some of
Uh, So Jerusalem becomes the city of David, the capital of Israel, and the focal point of David's life. He builds a palace there. And later on, we'll see he wants to build a temple to God. But before he does that, he decides, well, it might be helpful to bring the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem. Where's the Ark of the Covenant? It's been sitting in a guy's house for a long, long time since it was recovered from the Philistines.
Don't the Ethiopians have it right now?
Who?
The Ethiopians said they have it right now.
I don't know if they say that. That's a good question. You'd have to watch, what is it?
It's a scientific fact. And then
Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Yes. Don't they have the Ark of the Covenant?
Yeah, they do. So what
It's
they
in
do
the
is
warehouse.
they
No, the
sign.
government has.
It's in the warehouse.
This is the government warehouse.
So what
Wait,
they,
no, nobody knows where it is.
so what they do is, what they do, man. So what they do is they assign a priest to this Ark of the Covenant. Nobody sees it, nobody knows, it's in Ethiopia.
Okay,
Every priest that they assign has a, I don't know, 2-3 year lifespan. Once they assign,
they may, but
this is a fact.
Where you getting your back?
nobody knows
It's a
where the Ark
scientific
of the Covenant is.
Scientists.
Nobody.
Wait. So you're getting back. Let's debate. So how do you know it's not a fact?
I didn't say
We're
it's
gonna get, we're gonna
I
get.
didn't say it's not, I just wanna
No,
know.
he did.
We'll get
Where did I get my
to,
information from?
we'll get to the part of
So how do you know it's not a
Ethiopia.
fact?
I don't know whether.
Yeah,
So you're assuming,
See,
based
we
on
gotta get
assumption,
back to our list.
based on assumption, basically I'm not educated.
Okay, we're gonna move on
Based
here.
on assumption, that's why you're doing assumption.
Yeah, let's move on because other, the Ark of God is in Ethiopia or is in Jerusalem, is Gaza, whatever it is.
That's not what we're
That
talking
is
about.
not what we.
We're talking about
listen-
Christianity. We're talking about Christianity and love. And I don't like how this guy's expecting me, telling me, oh, I'm assuming things.
No,
Or
no,
I'm
no,
ignorant.
Well,
Or
no.
I'm treated less because I'm not a Christian. I don't
Oh, no,
appreciate it.
no.
nobody's saying
I
that.
thought you were.
Let's
Why
go
am I
on.
saying that? Because it's a fact. It's a fact. I'm very intelligent. Most of you guys don't have degrees.
Okay, let's think about David bringing the Ark of the Covenant back into Jerusalem. And what happens on the way? It's on a cart drawn by oxen, and they go over a rough part of the road. And a man named Uzzah reaches out and touches the ark
Stabilized.
to steady it.
Yeah.
This is chapter 6,
Like that.
verse 7.
Good intention.
Uzzah, the Lord's anger burned against Uzzah because of his irreverent act. Therefore, God struck him down, and he died there beside the ark of God. What was his sin? Here it's described as irreverence.
Yeah, his sin is, he is not a Levite.
Okay,
That is
from
his
what
sin.
we can
You're
understand.
not supposed to touch it. And
He disobeyed the word of God.
The Ark of the Covenant was essentially a box, and it had rings on the corners, and they were supposed to put poles through those rings, and the Levites were supposed to carry it that way. It wasn't supposed to be carried on a cart.
Yeah.
And if we go back to the book of Exodus and actually other places, before anybody handled the Ark of the Covenant, they were supposed to go through a purification ritual. And this did not occur. So it seems, is the Lord being arbitrary and unfair? This guy's just trying to keep the Ark of the Covenant from falling off the cart. But the anger of the Lord is kindled because they're not following his rules of respect for the Ark of the Covenant.
The Chronicles, they did not, Chronicles adds the note that they, that they did not follow the law.
Yeah.
Concerning the ark.
Yeah. So the Lord is righteous. In the case of even Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, they were put to death by the Lord for offering strange fire. In the New Testament, we find Ananias and Sapphira their lives were taken for not telling the truth. So it's important that we follow the Lord's commands and do it his way. Can't say he's gonna kill it. If he killed everyone whenever they sinned, there wouldn't be anybody else left, because we all make mistakes and sin, but we hopefully seek to be loyal and true to the Lord. So anyway, that's a kind of a
Sincerely, these are things if we come across, we should be scared and see how great, how kind God is for present time. The way his love is to above everything he has for us. Things he does with Uzzah, Ananias and Sapphira, God is not doing that with us today. He has given a privilege to change a lot in certain things. Now, things that Uzzah did, if you bring it to humanity, we will say that Uzzah did nothing wrong. Or else, does he done something wrong? No.
By human standards.
By human standard, he does nothing wrong. By touching the ark, the thing is falling. Let me explain it. I understand. But spiritually, God said, no, you have no right. You see? Now, Jesus came to save us, purpose for all those things. He came to let us out of those kind of calamities so that we should be loved in a certain way. We should recognize our sins, we should recognize our righteousness to follow the good path so that we will not fall into those traps. And what the things that Jesus has laid down for us today, are we doing our best following that? Or sometimes we do our way thinking that, no, let's do this, let's paint this one white. This is black. When we paint it white, it's okay. It will be nice for God, purpose, and those kind of things. Are we not doing those things today? Are we not doing it? No. We are doing many ways. So sometimes if I come across certain things like this, I feel very scared. I say, Christian.
Way to go.
Yeah.
I know.
sometimes it's difficult for us to understand, but you're right, the Lord is merciful, and it's best evidenced through Jesus Christ. Anyway, going on beyond Uzzah, he gets the ark back into Jerusalem. I don't think it's in Ethiopia, but they may claim that. We'll get to that discussion when we get to a lady named the Queen of Sheba. So came to visit Solomon. That's next book, Solomon. Anyway, David, in addition to building a nice house for himself, wanted to build a temple to God. Why do you suppose he wanted to do that?
He loved God.
Okay.
He loved God. You want to do something great. It's like you want to bless your children or something someday. But you love them. Yeah.
I wonder, though, how he got the idea of building a temple to God. I wonder if he got the idea by looking around at the Philistines and the other nations where they had temples.
Was it kind of the same reason that the Israelites wanted a king in the first place?
Yeah.
Because they wanted to be like the other nations. And so here it's David, look, see how these other nations honor their false gods. We should have something where we honor the true God. Maybe that's his thing.
Maybe a bigger and better, I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyway, it's in chapter 7, 2 Samuel chapter 7. After the king was settled in his palace, and the Lord had given him rest from all his enemies around him, he said to Nathan the prophet, "Here I am living in a palace of cedar, while the ark of God remains in a tent. The tabernacle is still around." Nathan replied to the king, "Whatever you have in mind, go ahead and do it. So the Lord is with you." So the initial response is go to it. Interesting. But that night, the word of the Lord came to Nathan, saying, "Go and tell my servant David, this is what the Lord says. Are you the one to build me a house to dwell in? I have not dwelt in a house from the day I brought the Israelites up out of Egypt to this day. I have been moving from place to place with a tent as my dwelling. Wherever I have moved with all the Israelites, did I ever say to any of their rulers, whom I commanded to shepherd my people Israel, why have you not built me a house of cedar?" So that's the initial reason. Why did David not build a house for God? God doesn't live in a house, didn't need a house. And yet there is a structure to the religion of Moses, where you offer sacrifices on an altar and incense, and you have the Ark of the Covenant there. So anyway, he goes on and talks about making David's name great and making a covenant with him, if you will. But there's another reason also, isn't there? What's that?
David was a man of war.
Yeah.
Blood on his hands. And God said no.
To get to that stuff, we have to go to Chronicles, 1 Chronicles 22, verse 8. Yeah. Is it, First Chronicles. I can't find what I'm looking for. Who's got that?
But this word of the Lord came to me. Well, David is talking to Solomon.
Yeah.
He says, "You have shed much blood and have fought many wars. You are not to build a house for my name, because you have shed much blood on the earth in my sight.
But you'll have a son who will be a man of peace and rest, and I will give him rest from all his enemies. His name will be Solomon." So David is associated with war, and God doesn't want that. Anyway, there's another place at Solomon where that point is, in Chronicles, that point is made. So a temple, that's, we don't have a temple today, do we?
Well, we are his temple.
We are the temple.
Right here, this church and us.
That's good.
That's God's temple.
God dwells in us. We are the temple of God. And we need to keep that temple as pure as they kept that building. So anyway, that's another incident in the life of King David.
There's in verse 9.
Sure.
I've been emailing Patrick and Alan that some translations say that this is a law for man. When David says, the King James has, "Is this a custom of man?" Okay,
Now, what verse are you there?
19. The NIV has it paraphrases it a different way, but not. The point is that some translations see it as David's response, okay, to God's blessing him as God is so great, and yet David is so small and so unimportant. that God is gonna do this for him. The other translation is, no, you misunderstand this, that what David is saying is he realizes that his dynasty is going to be law for man, based upon the Psalms and the word Torah here being, the law. So David's dynasty is going to be law. But the context does not support the idea that David's dynasty is going to be law for humanity. If you read this, it's only about the building of the temple, David's dynasty. Nothing about that he's going to, that his dynasty is going to be a law for humanity. Their argument, well, the Psalms say otherwise. Yeah, but you don't take the Psalms and, or Chronicles, and use that to help you translate, something that's may not be all that clear in the Hebrew. You have to go by the immediate context. The immediate context does not support the idea that David's dynasty is going to be law for humanity.
But yet, through Christ, that is our law.
Right.
The law of Christ.
But to read, and like Martin Luther took this as being the incarnation of the Lord, that he took man and Lord God as the same, as all the same. The man here is mentioned by David would be Christ, but the commentators generally reject that. So it's nothing major.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's a disagreement, but it's nothing major to spend time, disputing.
Yeah, it's an interesting, how do you translate that word?
I think we see David as kind of a forerunner of Christ.
Well, I'm not
He's a very
saying
Christ-like
that-
person, he's kind of blazing the trail for Jesus.
Right.
Coming up.
This is a shadow. This is
Relative.
an outline.
Yeah.
A shadow, an outline.
Right.
We can
Things
say
to
that this
come.
is a shadow outline of Christ, and I'm not gonna disagree with that, but I'm just simply
I think
saying,
that's what we accept. We'll go with that.
yeah.
But his law did not become like the law of Moses, for the Jews forever. He certainly embellished it in some way.
Anyway, that refers to the temple. There is a covenant with David, and anyway, but much of the book of 2 Samuel deals with another aspect of David's life and its consequences. And so we get into question 6, Bathsheba. She's mentioned in the genealogies. What aspects of sin are revealed in the incidents concerning Bathsheba? We know, we could say David committed adultery with Bathsheba, and that's right. But the purpose of this question is, how did that come about?
David wasn't doing what he was supposed to do. When kings went out
Okay.
to war, he stayed home
Yeah,
and got in trouble. Go to work.
he sends General Joab east of the Jordan to fight with the Ammonites, and he stays in Jerusalem.
Mhm.
So number one, he's kind of idle.
Yeah.
What next?
The issue is, David, the time David, sent Joab and go to that war, David knows the capacity of those, his groups,
Yeah.
that they can.
He knew they could handle it, but he still
Hundreds.
should have went.
So David, I can't say that he knew Bathsheba before the war, because as the Bible says, he is in his house
Mhm.
when throw out to see my kingdom, and I found a little bear bathing down there, which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, I don't want to go far, but drawing that attention, I have a question here. Bathsheba was invited, and
No, she wasn't invited. She was ordered.
okay, let's take it that way.
She didn't have
Thank you.
choice.
Let's take these steps in order.
Okay.
That's kind of an assumption. David should have gone to war. Maybe there were other circumstances involved. But here in chapter 11, 2 Samuel 11, it says here, at the time when kings go off to war, David sent One evening, David got up from his bed and walked around on the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. Well, what would have been appropriate?
He should have turned around and
Yeah.
gone
Yeah.
back inside the house.
But instead, he looks.
Mhm.
He looks, perhaps for quite a while, I don't know. From the roof, he saw a woman. The woman was very beautiful, and David sent someone to find out about her. That's another step,
Mhm.
inquiry. Then the man said, "Isn't this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite?"
Mhm.
Uriah, as we find out later, is one of David's 30 so-called mighty men, closest soldiers to him. So he knows that this is the wife of someone who's close to him. But then David sent messengers to get her.
That's right.
So that's how sin works. We look upon it, we think about it in our minds, and then we act on those desires. We have sinful desires in our mind. And that's how pornography works, and lust, and all kinds of things.
This abuse of power.
Yeah.
It's abuse of power.
Okay,
You know I'm the king. That's how he
that's right.
ordered to bring her. Because he found out about the lady, and he know that he's one of my commander's wife. What else will come to your mind to order to bring her to you?
Yeah.
It's abuse of power because I'm the king.
So it's something that it's a process. Sin is a process. Satan operates the same way today as he did in the time of David. He's got 3 weapons: lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, and pride of life. Here's lust of the eye, lust of the flesh, and David commits adultery. What's the next step? That's not all. What happened to hide this sin? When she sends word, well, it must have gone on. She sends word that she's with child, and so David tries to get Uriah back to go into her, so that Uriah will think
He's a better man than David.
that that's right, he was, but he wouldn't sleep with
And
his
I
wife.
always have a question around that scenario.
Yeah,
When Uriah can, and David is persuading him to go to Bathsheba,
yeah.
do you think if Uriah approached Bathsheba, Bathsheba will reveal what happened to him?
No.
No.
No,
That's how women are very difficult to
Yeah.
deal with.
Yeah. David wanted Uriah to
And the
think the
woman said
child
no.
was.
No.
No. Dangerous.
But then, that's not all. He tries to get rid of Uriah,
Exactly.
sends him to his death, tells Joab to withdraw from him.
Yeah.
So in a sense, this looking at a woman bathing leads to murder. And that's the way sin works. It gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
Bathsheba to know that now I fall in the king's hands. What am I going to do with King Leblanc?
And
That is what
your thought.
my thoughts.
so, well, we'll take it up there and talk about some other aspects of David's life that had some serious consequences.
Yeah.
And
He's still called a man after God's own heart. You know?
yeah, but his family
Yeah, his family.
caused a lot of
reveals who he is.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
So
Alan.
still,
I hope we didn't drive soon. We'll have to talk to you.
All right, everybody have a good week.